Peeps, Kenny Molotov here in the studio. I got a really great question from a new subscriber out there, which I really wanted to tackle here on the channel and just spend a couple of minutes talking about it. And the question goes as so. Heat Flux was asking, how old were you when you started working as a plumber? To which I responded, I was 25 years old. And then they asked, okay, so what do you think? Am I a bit old with my 29-year-old self to start plumbing, or is it better to pursue something else? Now, I know for myself in the past, I've always asked myself questions about age because I've always felt a sense of pressure in regards to starting something depending on how old I was. A lot of times you hear stories about you having to be a certain age range to really be able to succeed at things. So I wanted to alleviate some pressure on everybody out there about plumbing in regards to how old you have to be to start it. And here's how I feel about it. These are my opinions. I do stress that you should go out and ask a bunch of other people that are plumbers and aren't plumbers about what they think as well. Take my opinion with a grain of salt and figure out what you think is the answer to this question eventually. But for what it's worth, here are my thoughts. I feel like plumbing comes down to 4 different crucial things that you need in order to be able to perform the task at hand. The first one is you have to be able to problem solve. The second one is it's really going to come down to you being able to perform physically on the job. Third one is you got to be able to perform under difficult circumstances. And lastly, you have to be comfortable starting from the bottom and working your way up. Let's talk about all those a little bit more in detail. The first one is you have to be able to problem solve. All different aspects of work and jobs comes down to problem solving. The best people in their fields are the ones that problem solve the best specifically for that field itself. And that's essentially going to be your value as a plumber or as a musician, or as a soccer player. That's what you're gonna be bringing to the table. Now, obviously, when you start off in your apprenticeship, people don't expect you to be able to troubleshoot and figure out leaks and figure out why drains are reacting the way they're reacting. That is all gonna come with time. You're gonna be trained on this for the duration of minimum 5 years just to get your license. But then you're still gonna be learning things throughout the rest of your life. So what I'm trying to say here about problem solving is that you have to have a genuine interest in the work. You're gonna have to try to figure out why leaks are occurring, why drains are reacting the way they are, why there's a water hammer, why there are all these different things that happen, and that's something you're gonna learn over time. If you have interest in it, then you're ahead of the game and you're in a great position to learn the tricks of the trade. The second aspect I'm talking about is physical performance. Now, I don't care how big you are or how strong you are, this is something that you're gonna be able to develop over time, but it's something that you gotta be aware of. Plumbing is very labor intensive at certain points of the year and certain job sites as well. So it's something that you got to keep in mind. At some point, you're going to probably have to break cement. At some point, you're probably going to have to dig. At some point, you're probably going to have to move around the tools. Toolboxes and tools are not light materials. They are heavy. So if you feel comfortable with the idea that things are going to be heavy and some work is going to be difficult, then you're totally in a good position to get into the trade itself. The third aspect I wanted to talk about was dealing with difficult situations. From time to time, you're going to come to a job site where things are going to be going completely awry as to what you had expected. So at some points, I find that Dad and I have a lot of tension between us because the job's not going the way it's supposed to go. So we might get frustrated with each other. We might sort of have an exchange of strong words or whatnot. But despite all of that, you still have to get the job done. That is what you're there for. The client is paying you so that something comes to fruition. So it doesn't matter what the emotional setup is with you and your foreman or you and your ranking plumber. You have to be able to navigate under those circumstances to be able to finish the task at hand. So that's something I think you have to keep in the back of your mind, because there is frustration on job sites quite a bit because it's not easy work. It is very difficult, labor-intensive work, and as you know, the more physically tired you get, the more physically tired your mind gets, so the more tired you become, the harder it is to problem solve, which means that it becomes more and more frustrating as the job continues on. That's something to keep in mind. It's not always the case, and I find that the better you get at the trade, the better you are at anticipating problem areas, which means that the better better you are at not becoming frustrated on the job site. I remember the hardest moments of plumbing for me were the ones where Dad and I get into an argument because of how the work's coming together, and then I still have to finish the job site. So it's sort of a moment where I have to kick myself in the rear end and say, okay, let's put this all aside, let's get the job done. Dad and I can discuss this later on today or later on tomorrow, sort of thing. And that's the way you sort of have to have the mentality around it. The fourth element that I was talking about was starting from the bottom of the totem pole. Now, I find that you're gonna run into people that sort of treat you badly because you're new to the job site. I don't think everybody's like this, but I do think you run into individuals like that where they sort of take advantage of the situation. That's something you're gonna have to be able to put aside and just continue staying in your lane and getting the work done as best as you can and learning as quickly as you can as well. So peeps, the reason why I brought up these 4 points and this whole conversation in general is because if you are ready to learn how to problem solve in a very plumbing specific way, if you are ready to carry on heavy work, dig, get your hands dirty a little, grab some heavy tools and move them around. If you are okay with dealing with stressful situations and trying to get the job done, and you are okay with starting from the bottom and working your way up, which means dealing with the dynamics of people in that sort of situation, then I'm trying to tell you that you are in a good position to take on this job. And I don't care what your gender, age, or sexual orientation is. If those 4 aspects sound like something you're interested in, go for it. I really don't think it comes down to age or strength or anything of the sort. I think it comes down to drive, in my opinion. If you're able to lift tools, if you're able to problem solve, if you're able to deal with stressful situations, and you're able to start from the bottom, do your due diligence, cut your teeth, plant your feet, and do the work, you are ready for the trade, whatever trade it is, and I would say for whatever career it is as well. I think that's the way you sort of have to sit back and gauge the situation. I don't think it comes down to age or any other arbitrary factors like that. It comes down to whether you're ready to do it, whether you're able to do it, and whether you're gonna enjoy it, period.